Blackwell. I'm the director of the Office of Community Engagement at the University of Maryland. I came to the United States in 1987. I came here to study safety and fire science. That's what I did in Venezuela, where not too many women are known to be doing that work of safety and fire science, including my mother. My mother said, "What? I don't want to have a daughter being behind a fire truck." And I said, "Well, there are a lot of men, why not? Women can do it too." Yes. So began my career with that, and then I made the transition to come to the United States. The studies that I was doing was basically didn't have a bachelor's degree. So I applied, I looked around where they have a program, safety and fire science programs, and lo and behold, it was the University of Maryland, College Park. So I came to the beautiful state of Maryland, where I have been here since then. So I graduated in that area, and then I transitioned to be moving out to do this work of community engagement. And you start wondering around what community engagement had to do with fire science. Well, a lot. I made it through being connected. So the role is basically be more connected of what we do and how we can transition to make it part of our passion. So I did a lot of work in terms of getting to work with individuals that didn't know the language. As I mentioned to you, I came from Venezuela, didn't know any English. I had to start from scratch. One word I always got mad at it, and I said, why they don't tell me in the English classes about idiomatic expression? Because every time I was looking at someone, what's up? And I kept looking up. Then I realized, why are you always asking me what's up? Why are you saying hello? How you doing? Well, no, that's kind of in the same line of saying what's up. So, how are you doing? Anyway, so I began the process of trying to tell individuals that I was working with about safety, being safe in the workplace, but realizing that I was doing conflict resolution. I was trying to be the language barrier, trying to facilitate connections between the employees and management. And then I realized that the immigrant community that was in the workplace, they were not really familiar of what was going on in their own community, inside of the workplace, and outside in their own world. What to be connected, what rights and what areas that they can be talking about, how advocacy plays out in their life. By having 3 or 4 jobs, how can I support my kids in the school? So I began to find the answers and try to know the answer, because the answers might not be applicable for everyone, but try to find information. And from that point on, I began to start making connections, and I decided maybe fire science is not the way to go. Let's do something different. And as a woman at an institution, a large institution like the University of Maryland, I saw at the top of the administration, people didn't have people that looked like me. I wasn't against that, but I was kind of to say, what is the pipeline? What is the way for me to succeed, to advance my career advancement at this institution? And then all of a sudden, they start developing, well, that's right, we don't have too many Latinos in this at this level. Perhaps we can start working with you and find answers. So I encourage everyone to ask that question. How do I advance? What kind of the path I can take? And I was able to move into this level. So I became then to work for the Vice President's Office of the University of Maryland, where I began to do this work of community engagement. So with all of that, because I now became engaged, now you can see there is a lot of work in terms of doing work-life balance. Because once you give your time to work, once you give your time to start thinking about what is it that I'm going to do besides my work, it's also giving my personal time. So how do I divide up my personal time? So I began to think about that what was important to me was the passion of being connecting people, connecting individuals. So working in, as now, I'm so glad about the Montgomery College receiving this award, because I was part of the board. I'm part of the board of trustees for Montgomery College. And kudos to all of you for that hard work. What a great institution. And that takes time to be in a board. So consider to be in boards. It's important to have the voice, and particularly women. We have a lot of older men being part of this. Nothing against older men, sir. I'm not calling you older either because you have a white hair. But it's just about that we need to have a voice. That somebody else will not be taking that voice because we always assume, well, somebody else is going to talk for me. It's just to get involved. But work balance is very important. Be present. What I'm going to tell you quickly here, because we're almost time for me to finish here. Be a mentor is incredible. As an immigrant person coming here, mentors were critical in the lives that I have right now. So I grant all what I have done so far is to the people that have believed in me, that they saw something that I didn't know that I have. And they made aware of me that this is the way that you can do and be helping your community. Be a mentee is important to look for that too. That it's not just you giving, but also be part of the others who give it to you. And most important, be present. And the last thing that I will say that I learned from the French writer called Voltaire, don't let perfection be the enemy of good.
Yeah. My name is Jenny Rosalia Dufour, and I am the president of the Montgomery County chapter of the National Organization for Women, but my day job is I am a senior program manager for Otsuka Pharmaceutical Development and Commercialization. So I do not work in sales, I do not work in marketing, I work on the research side. I work with the physicians and the statisticians and the clinicians and the programmers who work on a new entity to treat people. And kind of fell into it. I come from a very working class background. My parents were very big on, you want to do fun stuff? You gotta work. My father, I'm a first generation American on my father's side and a third on my mother's side. So from a very young age, the go to work piece was instilled in me. My parents took care of food and all that, but if I wanted to go to prom, I had to have a job. And so I think the longest stretch that I have not worked since I was 16 was 4 months, my freshman year in college, because I couldn't have a car and I couldn't get an on-campus job. So from a very early age, my parents tried to institute the whole work-life balance. They pushed me to go into science because I was good at it, so it was kind of like I didn't have a choice, and it was also very helpful that it was something that I enjoyed. And so I took as many science classes and as many math classes as I could in high school, and I was fortunate to go to a high school that had college-level classes. So I actually went into college already a semester ahead of my peers because I had so many credits. And in high school, I worked a very odd job for a 17-year-old. I worked at a physician's office. I worked on the letters of medical necessity. So if you had a child who needed air conditioning because they had asthma and you needed to appeal to the insurance company, I was the one who wrote that letter. And then in college, I majored in biology, and it was an ongoing conversation with my father. Why are you only working 30 hours a week? Oh, I do need to sleep. So, from college on, I kind of learned how to balance things, where I had my school time, I had my work time, and then I got a little bit of fun time. And throughout my career, I've used that. So I got into clinical research right after college, and I worked in a few different companies. My current company, I've been there 8 years, and it's a very demanding job, but I've been able to plan a wedding, buy a house, we're currently having a baby, all because I live in my calendar. And that's like one of the tools I use, and lists and all that stuff. And the mentors have also been very important to me, and being a mentee has been very useful. But since my co-panels covered that, we thought I'd go more into the tools. But for me, I just work best with scheduling my life and rewarding myself for things. One of the most rewarding things I was able to take part in was over 2017 and 2018, we were filing with the FDA for a submission. So Diane talked earlier about being a product reviewer, so we were the other side of that. We were developing things for someone in that role to review, and it was a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week job. I had conference calls at 9 a.m. on Sunday morning sometimes because it was the priority, and we were all committed to getting this drug to market to patients who needed it. It was a dire medical need. And when we got that approval in April of 2018, it was the best feeling any of us had ever had. And I had worked on it for half of the time as everyone else had. There were people at this company who worked on this for 20 years, and I was only there for 8 years, or 7 years at the time. So it was just amazing. And I credit my parents and my grandparents who also had the strong work ethic with helping me understand how we can do that and still have a life and still not be completely exhausted at the end of the day. Because even though that's an important thing, you still need to keep time for yourself. And I think it's important letting young people know that it's okay to set boundaries. It's okay to say no. You have to understand what your priorities are. Because the other part of that whole FDA submission was I was also one of the primary caretakers for my father while he was going through a bone marrow transplant. So I did nothing except take care of my dad and work. And I got to talk to my husband 20 minutes a day because we lived apart for 6 months. But that was my priority, and that's what I did, and it worked out. And it was the family aspect that I think really helped me through that and being instilled with that work ethic and understanding of how to work and how to live at the same time. And I think.
And you were also involved in Montgomery County National?
I was volunteering all at the same time, yes. I did a lot of things on the phone. We did a lot of, the chapter members in Montgomery County now were very, very gracious, and I participated a lot via phone. But you do. And that, it can be done. And I think when we're talking to our younger people, we need to explain to them. You have to be realistic, and you have to understand what are you capable of. You're probably capable of more than you think you are, but still leave time for yourself, and it's okay. It's okay to say no. It's okay to say, I need 2 hours on a Friday night to sit and hang out with my cats and just not do anything.
Okay, this is the last panel of the afternoon. Again, we apologize for the rush. There's just so much information, I know, but we're so glad to have our partners here and leadership come from our many organizations that we all work with. Michael?
Hi, I'm Michael Cohen. I have no connection to that other Michael Cohen. I want to be very I started with kind of how I came to where I am with encouraging people to know what's important to them and what gives you meaning. And that priorities change over time in your lifespan. And certainly whether, you're starting out in an education or your career or family or retirement, those things are going to change over time. And so it's really important to really always be reassessing kind of where you are. And that life includes the unexpected. And you can't always plan, even though it's great to have goals, you can't always plan. And there will be many choices and many opportunities for you to make different choices over time. So your career path may not end up where you started. And I think perhaps nowadays that's even more true. I mean, there are going to be careers in the next 25 years we've never even thought of or heard of. So my career path was also unexpected because I started out wanting to be a history teacher, and I did that, and I also taught women's history and American history at the college level, and that's what I thought I was going to do. And then I came to Maryland from California, and I started to volunteer at the YWCA Women's Center, which had just opened in Annapolis, and it totally changed my career path. So volunteering made a huge difference for me. So I started to volunteer there, and soon it became, there was an opportunity to become the director of that program, part of the YWCA. And I did that for 15 and a half years. I was the director of the Women's Center, and then I became the director of communications at the YWCA. And in the process, I helped to found the Maryland Network Against Domestic Violence, and other organizations, including MLAW, which started out as the legislative agenda for Maryland women and then became the Maryland legislative agenda for women. So all of those volunteer opportunities helped to move me in very new directions in terms of advocacy and nonprofit management. And I also was on the board of the Maryland Aggregate Against Domestic Violence for 18.5 years, and in 1999 became the executive director and was the executive director for 18.5 years. So you can see that by volunteering, it totally changed what I planned to do. And what I realized was that rather than studying history, I wanted to make history. And so my advocacy work and my nonprofit work really enabled me to do that. And it's been really a wonderful, career path that I never anticipated. And it all started because I got involved in volunteering. And I've continued to do that as the president of MLAW for the last 12 years or something. I think because nobody else wants that job. But I think that that's part of what volunteering really enables you to do, is to explore some new opportunities that you wouldn't have thought of. So at different points in time, you have to figure out, what do I have to do? Do I have to pay the rent? Do I have to put food on the table? And those are real considerations. But I also think it's really wonderful if you can do things that you want to do, deciding where you want to live, where you want to be, where you want to be in your life at that point in time. And again, that changes. I think that formal education is wonderful and is often an entry point to a lot of careers. And I think you can learn a lot through formal education. I'm particularly a fan of liberal arts, but I also know that it's great when women get into STEM. And I also think that you can acquire a lot of the skills that you need to have in any school you go to. I know there's a lot of controversy now about people trying to get into, all the Ivy League schools, and I don't think that's actually necessary. I think you can get a good education and learn critical thinking and great writing skills and organizing skills and analytical skills in community college, state college, wherever. But I do think that education does prepare you for learning transferable skills, and I think that's the critical thing. I think that transferable skills and experiences are as important as education and jobs. And I think that you can get those experiences and skills in a lot of different ways. And I think that you just need to really kind of pay attention to what's going on around you. And I think mentoring is great, but I also think that you can learn a lot by observing. And I certainly did. I didn't particularly have a mentor, but I also watched what other people did in positions that I looked at and thought, gee, I wonder if I could do that. And I watched what they did, for better or for worse. I saw, what I liked and what I didn't like about the way they handled those positions. And I also think that you can learn things in a lot of different places, and I'm sure a lot of you read the article about Nancy Pelosi in the Washington Post, and she said that she learned her management leadership skills by raising 5 children, and that she knows a tantrum when she sees it. So I think that you can get those experiences a lot of different ways, whether it's through jobs, or organizing your social life, or parenting, or volunteering and doing that. So I think that those are lessons that we need to be, aware of. And I think that through volunteering, you can get a lot of those skills and experiences which are transferable, and that's what I did. I started as an academic, and I was able to take those skills that I had and transfer them into management. And they're really a lot of the same skills, but I think when I was coming along, people thought in terms of jobs, and really wouldn't have thought about how they could be applied to changing careers. And I think that that's what we're going to have to do looking ahead, because there are going to be so many new careers and opportunities open. We have to think in terms of how we can apply those skills that we have. And I think there's some basic skills: writing, communications, math, basic math, and I think those are, leadership skills and that we can learn and then apply them in different arenas and in different ways. And I think that the great thing about volunteering is that it enables you to acquire those skills and also learn what you like and what you don't like to do and what you're good at, what you're not good at. And I think that that's really important as you assess yourself at different points in your life, is to make sure that you make those connections. Am I doing what I want to be doing? Is this giving meaning to my life? And if it's not, maybe move in a different direction. But I think that that's something that we can all do at any stage. And now that I'm retired, I'm reassessing once again in terms of what I want to do, and for the next hopefully 20 years. So I think that there's a lot of things that we can learn and apply those lessons in different ways. And I did promise to, I don't know if I have a chance, so I'm going to do it now, to give a plug to MLAW. Our table's in the back of the room. And one of the members of my board said, please be sure to ask people to join. So thank you.
Thank you for the work that you do. My name is Diane Fink. I'm with Emerge Maryland. I'm the Executive Director of Emerge Maryland. And I want to say what she said. Basically, we were asked to talk about ourselves, and the only thing I want to say about that is I don't like to talk about myself. I will say that indeed you never know where your career is going to end up, what's going to happen in your life that might change the trajectory of what you thought you might have had planned. And often it's for good, sometimes not so good. For me, it was for the better. I actually made the choice to be a stay-at-home mom. And I never regret it. I loved doing it. I loved being with my children. I wasn't sure what I was going to do after they had grown. They're in their 30s now. 7 years ago, I was given the opportunity to set up and start the Emerge program here in Maryland. And it was very scary and daunting coming off of the stay-at-home mommy track. But I was up for the challenge. And I sought out the mentors and the women in my life who helped me gain the confidence that I needed to do it, and did a lot of Google searches, did a lot of research in other aspects, and set up a nonprofit organization, and for 7 years we've been very successful. And what I learned about myself in that process was that I am the type of person who, and this is tapping into your passion, right? Follow your heart. Look for what it is that you're driven to want to do, because that's where you're going to do the best. That's where your talents lie. And for me, it's moving the needle. And for me, it's moving the needle for women. Because when we move the needle for women, we move the needle for everyone. And I'm looking at this wonderful sheet here of legislation supported by the Women's Caucus, and I'm seeing that there's legislation on here that has been, the primary sponsors are women that I trained in the program for Emerge. So, this is the thing, is that when you can look back and you can say, I've made a difference. What am I going to do today to make a difference in somebody's life? Something that'll touch the future. And, this is what drives me every day. So if you wake up every day, you put your feet on the floor, get in touch with what drives you. And make sure that you make that day the best day you can for moving that needle forward. And I have to say there are times when the, administrative stuff is boring and I don't want to do it. Right? It's an ED. But then you look at the bigger picture, and that's what really matters. Anybody out there who's even considered running for office, or if you know someone that has considered running for office, if somebody does ask you to run for office, consider it. This has been a problem in the past where women have said, well, no, not me. Or, so many women have come to me and said, I've thought about running for office. When I go to my family, they're like, what, you? That's not happening as much anymore, but it still happens. So be encouraging, be the mentor, be the mentee. There's been so much good advice up here. I don't want to repeat everything, but it just does bear repeating. I never stop learning. I never feel like I know everything about anything that I'm doing. I'm constantly looking to others to inspire me, and I constantly find other women, especially who inspire me, and the men who support our organization, and other women. Inspiration and finding the energy every day to do the mundane things, to look at the larger picture and moving the needle forward in whatever you're doing, making a difference. I want to also thank you. Linda's my friend. She's reminding me that there is literature in the back that talks about the organization. Please pick some up, even if it's not for you, for somebody else. And we have summer one-day programs with Emerge that help women find their personal political path. It doesn't have to be running for office, although we would like as many as possible. It could be advocating for issues. It could be helping other women run. It could be volunteering on campaigns, whatever it is. So we do a one-day workshop on that. So look for those. There's two papers. There's this one and there's the one that isn't as pretty. But I want to kind of conclude. I want to conclude by saying that the thing that I have learned over the years, after coming off the mommy track and having a career now, so I did have it all. I just didn't have it all at once. And that's okay. I'm not only okay with that, it's been really awesome watching my children watch me grow and having their approval and having them say things to them that I said as they went through their journey and through college and seeking their careers. And they're coming back and they're saying the same thing to me, which is just so rewarding. So do it in whatever steps that life gives you, whatever opportunities life gives you, and be ready. Always be ready to face the new opportunities that come along.
Greetings, everyone. My name is Jody Finkelstein. I am the Executive Director of the Montgomery County Commission for Women. I've had the honor of serving there for 4 years next month. And I've also had the honor of pretty much working with everybody in this room. So it's a tremendous honor to be here. And one of the questions I think they wanted us to answer is, how did we get here? I really have to say how I got here was really in one word: it's passion. I had a passion for helping others. I had a passion for making a difference. And luckily, my family was very supportive. It continues to be very supportive. My very first job out of grad school, not violently, of course, I forced myself into a startup nonprofit called Build the Missing Piece at the time by a wonderful woman by the name of Julie Ellsrode, where we did gun violence prevention, and we worked out of her basement. And this was years and years, a long time ago. And it was because of my passion for gun violence prevention and because of her mentorship, I honestly believe I was able to do as much nonprofit work as I have sort of at a relatively younger age. So I concur with what everybody here said. And just really, if you have the opportunity to follow your passion and you can be supported by that, not only through your heart, by the people that you surround yourself with, just do it. Life, as you all know, is very short. Things can change in an instant. So if you're able to follow your dream, continue to do so. And let me just end with this. There's a huge poster in my office of Eleanor Roosevelt, and the quote on the poster says, you should do the things that you think you cannot do, and I try and do that every single day, even if it's talking in front of what used to be a not-so-great House Judiciary Committee, running for office, or even, sometimes just networking with people that I have never met before. I think about Eleanor Roosevelt and all the wonderful things that she has done, think about or have done, think about the paths that you all have taken and continue to just really follow your heart and follow your passion.
So